China, the Chinese chicken. You have a drumstick and your brain stops sticking.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. This is China Chicken, and I just wanted to talk about comparison between The Last of Us and Game of Thrones. And it might not be what you think. They're both HBO shows, obviously, and they're both very successful. Game of Thrones came out in 2011, I believe, and ended in 2019 with a very suspect final season where not a lot of people were very happy. They were very excited the first 6 or 7 seasons, and the ending kind of was a bummer for a lot of people, including myself. And The Last of Us, which is going on right now, is in season 2. Just finished episode 2. No spoilers here, but the ending was pretty crazy. And it reminded me of the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones. And I think both shows are going in a very similar direction. And it's not because they're similar in their world building or anything. Obviously, the Game of Thrones show has, zombies also with the White Walkers coming from the north, and The Last of Us is in a zombie post-apocalyptic world 25 years after zombie outbreak. So anyways, I just believe that these two shows are similar in the fact that they had source material, Game of Thrones, from the books that George R. R. Martin wrote. I believe he wrote 5 books, and then he was supposed to have The Winds of Winter come out, and then A Dream of Spring, so 2 more books, but none of them ever released, and it's still unknown if The Winds of Winter is going to come out, and I believe it was supposed to come out 13 years ago or so and still hasn't, and he says he's still working on it, which is kind of interesting. So I believe that these two shows are on very similar paths. With The Last of Us, it's a world built on a video game. So The Last of Us Part 1 came out, I believe, in the same year, 2011, as the show for Game of Thrones. And then Part 2 came out in 2019. So we're well into Part 2 of the game. Game of Thrones source material ran out after the 5th season of the show. They ran out of the book material because Winds of Winter didn't come out. So the writers of the show had to kind of come out or make up their own story of what they think was going to end the show. So they kind of made up their own minds and said, we're going to go in this direction. And everyone was kind of like, what's going on here with the last season of Game of Thrones, with Daenerys dying and Jon Snow killing her and all the craziness that happened, Bran Stark becoming king. A lot of people were like, these are decisions that don't really line up with what was going on in the first 5 or 6 seasons of the show. So it should be very interesting to see what happens in The Last of Us after this season, maybe the next. I think they're going to adapt the second game into 2 or 3 seasons of the show. So we might get into season 4 where we're going to be at the end of The Last of Us, the second game, where we're going to run out of source material, and then there's not going to be any more of the game to go off of. So we'll have to see what they do with that, if they're going to take a break and wait for The Last of Us Part 3, which I think is going to happen, a video game, the Last of Us Part 3. I just believe that's going to happen. The show is so popular. The game is so popular. I don't think they finished the story at the end of Part 2, so I think they're going to work on a Part 3 video game. So, in my opinion, I think that's what HBO should do. They should not go past the video game, and they shouldn't make up their own story. They need to wait. They need to wait for The Last of Us Part 3 video game to come out. Then they can adapt the show from there. I think that's what Game of Thrones' mistake was, but, they had pressure from the fans. They had a season come out every year. What were they going to do? Wait for George R. R. Martin to maybe finish his book so they can finish the show? No, they had to finish the show. They had to finish it their own way, and it ended up being a mistake, in my opinion. Maybe their viewers were really good, but I don't see a lot of hype in the Game of Thrones world anymore. House of the Dragon's really good. They got another show coming out, but yeah, Game of Thrones didn't live up to what people thought for the ending there. So I hope The Last of Us doesn't make the same mistake. I hope that after they finish up the source material from the games, that they take a break and then they wait for part 3 video game to come out so they can make the show from there. And it only just it comes out better because they can write the show based off of the game, and they have that source material and they have that way to make the show even better. Like they added some characters in season 2, like the therapist in season 2. She's a great character, and just additions like that to make the show even better work out so well. And Game of Thrones did the same thing in the first 5 or 6 seasons. They kind of made it their own, but it worked out from the books. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let me know if you think The Last of Us show should wait. Should they wait for part 3 to come out before they finish it? Or are they going in the same direction as Game of Thrones and they're going to go past the source material and hopefully not make a mistake by doing that? So let me know. Leave a like, subscribe. Have a great day, everybody.
Chickadee China, the Chinese chicken. You have a drumstick and your brain stops sticking.